Hi, everyone. Today we have a true entrepreneur, someone that is a, like a force to reckon with. Definitely, you're all over the place, and what you do, you're doing well. So, I'm really excited to have a conversation with you, Dion. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Appreciate the opportunity here. Beautiful day in Miami, Florida.
Yeah, love it, love it. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Dion.
So I am, I want to say a serial entrepreneur at heart, from Detroit, Michigan. Went to Eastern Michigan. Pretty much self-made, push myself, grind every day type of guy. Really to myself. Like to, read books and play video games. That's myself in a nutshell. Moved out here to Florida in 2011 to at 21 years old to achieve a better future, and here we are, 12, 13 years later. You know, building what I like to call, a personal brand that I've managed to elevate to a certain level, and just continuing to push the ball here.
Yeah, I think you're being very humble because even though you did say a serial entrepreneur, let's talk a little bit about what your businesses are and what you've achieved in these 13 years.
Yeah, so I'm the founder of Vibes B&B, which is a cannabis hospitality platform that I built here in from 2016 to now 2025, because we're almost 2025. And this was a personal journey of mine as I started getting into the Airbnb industry, short-term rental industry, back in 2015. I wanted to impact the world in my own way, and I started doing that by just focusing on personal development. Really, it was about having something as a personal brand to be able to show the world and be able to, affect people's life in a way that I thought was promoting and self-sustaining. I managed to do that to about maybe 5 to 10,000 guests over the last 8 years of my life, just renting to a specific niche, the cannabis hospitality, cannabis tourism market. And now I, am on the journey to build a global platform that can affect the world on a major level. Um, some stats to date is we have 36 states that ended up reaching out to me over these last 10 years of people who are interested in short term rentals, but in the cannabis tourism space. It 2,000 something users downloaded our application on the Apple Store, and we were able to really, impact the world. I feel like in a specific way. Being a founder is very special to me because it allows me to craft my own journey, and I thought that was one of the most important things to me over the last 10 years of my life. Um, yeah, go ahead.
How did that drive come about? Like you said it a few minutes ago that you're always working, you're always pushing, you're always progressing. And from what I saw online and on your social media and all the stuff that you're doing, it really seems like you're a nonstop guy. So where did that drive come from?
Well, my dad was a previous Olympian. He was in the track and field, right? And what was it? He contended, right, the Olympic trials. He got to the Olympic trials and placed fourth in the 4x1. And this was when he was way younger, before I was born. And then when he had me, I had all those genetics. So master's degree in engineering. He's also the seventh best DJ in the world for Chicago stepping music, like white parties and stuff. Every year, he's on his 40th annual right now, but every year he has a white party that he throws, and he's able to fill out a hotel for 2,000 people that comes to his parties every year. And this is what I grew up around. He was always working. You know, I watched him play sports, and when I got to be 11 or 12 years old, by the time I was 19, I had played four different sports at a high level: football, track, baseball, and basketball. And I was one of the best in my school. I always excelled at things. That's one of the characteristics of myself. And I took that personal because there's a legacy to hold within the Mack name. That's why I chose to be greater than I feel like the average, because when you are a founder and you choose to be a person that leads the pack, you have to shovel the snow first. And that, for me, that just meant taking the hits, taking the blows, understanding that mental fortitude is the name of the game when you are pioneering anything in your life. That could be family, that could be money, that could be entrepreneurship. And when I moved out here to Florida, I moved out here by myself at 21 because I had that resilience in me from the last 10 years of my life, being with my father and being with my mother, and understanding that you can achieve anything you set your mind to as long as you understand what the mental fortitude needs to achieve that. So when I came out here to 21, um, I really came out here to Florida because my dad said something to me that really pissed me off. And he was like, I was playing video games around this time. And in addition to doing four sports and playing and going to school, I would play video games for 12, 15 hours a day because that was my way to get away from the world. And when I was, I think, 20 years old, my dad said something to me. He was like, all you do is eat, shit, and sleep. And little did he know, you know, in the video game world, I was one of the top performing people on the server. I was somebody that everybody knew, everybody paid to come do things to help them out with certain missions. When people put me a part of their group, I was an impactful player because I'm no person that got up at 5 a.m. to study the bosses and how to get past certain obstacles and put the time in so that when I joined the group later in the day, I already knew what I was supposed to do because I was always responsible for myself. I couldn't call the shots or be a leader in the game unless I had those leadership qualities. And I always, in every aspect of every part of my life, I've always taken it upon myself to make sure that I knew what I was doing when it came to just being an impactful person in whatever I put my hands on, whether it was football, basketball, track and field. I was one of the fastest kids in my school. I was one of the best basketball players. I was, I won a couple state games. And even in baseball, the only reason I didn't make the team is because, my stepdad grounded me because I had dropped the iron and burned the carpet in the house. So he took me off the basketball team because of that. But even then, I was still able to excel at those other three sports. And going back to my dad, when he told me that, man, I don't know, there was just something in me that ignited a fire in me that he didn't understand who I was because he would work so much and he wouldn't really pay attention to the things that I was doing to know that I was this type of person in the game. I played this game called Final Fantasy 11 around, I think it was 2011, 2012. And over my 8 years of playing that game, I became one of the most impactful people in that game. So when he told me all you do is eat, shit, and sleep, I took it upon myself to be like, okay. So what I did is I took 2 years of community college after I graduated high school, and then I got a 3.6 GPA after those 2 years, and then I applied to Eastern Michigan University, and I got in on an academic scholarship. And that I only did it just to show my dad that, hey, I you know I can get into college if that's what you need me to do. So I got into college, and then after that, I did a year there, and then came out here to South Florida and applied to FIU, and then got in on another academic scholarship with a 3.8. And I came out here. I think it was 2010 September, and then by August 2011, I had kind of stolen my own car and left at 3 a.m. and drove down here to South Florida, 31 hours, and then decided to move to Florida because he didn't really believe that I could make it down here on myself. And I always tell people that, if anybody says I can't do something, I'm going to show you 10 times why that I can do that certain thing. So, it's always been in my blood to excel at things. And even in business, I couldn't be an athlete at a high level, NFL or MLB or, track and field, because I didn't have the proper coaching, when I was younger, because my dad spent all of his time working. But I always knew that my mind was that of an elite level. And I could always apply that in different areas because I knew from building my leadership skills in the game that I had that ability. So when I got here to South Florida, it was just applying it in a different way. It was just a mindset, a mental thing. So I ended up, spending the first 5 years enjoying Miami and going out and hanging out and meeting people. And then 2016, when I turned 27, that's when it got serious for me because Lyft, Uber, Airbnb came out during that time, and that allowed me to put my own time into building myself and networking with people. That was the first time I was able to really spend 19 hours driving, getting up at 6 a.m., going to the gym for an hour, getting done at 7 a.m., and then driving from 7 a.m. to 11:30 p.m., going to sleep, and then doing that for 6 months straight until I was able to put $15,000 in my pocket. And then I was able to go get my own 2-bedroom, rent it out to a roommate. After my roommate left, put that on Airbnb, and then started to notice something in the market. 2016 November is when medical marijuana became a thing here in South Florida. So my business mind, my acumen just told me, okay, this is the wave right here. And I knew exactly what I was doing to where 10 years later, this is a manufactured response. I'm here because I understood that the problem in the market that I had discovered back in 2016 is that my first 100 guests with that one Airbnb property that I had invested in, about 70% of those reservations, I want to say I took 100 reservations that year, maybe 75 of those people, immediately when they checked into me, they said, Deon, I just got kicked out of my short-term rental, my Airbnb, this other host. And I said, why? It was like, oh, well, I brought my cannabis with me and the host instantly canceled my reservation. There were some girls who would check into my 2-bedroom property, and they would literally be crying because they had just gotten their stay altered. And when people come on vacation, the last thing that they want is to be inconvenienced when they travel abroad. And then for me, I just thought, well, my generation, I understand why we use, and it's really about having a lifestyle and a lot of people used it for wellness purposes. They wanted to understand, they wanted to feel like they were, a lot of people used it for stress relief. I want to say that. Not 90% of my customers was hard day at work. They were only there for 2 or 3 days. I said, well, I don't see a problem with that, And then I started to think about how can I apply a hospitality aspect to these people to make them feel more comfortable and give them a safe space so that they could be themselves and just be able to have my place as an opportunity to relax and not have to go through so much different challenges with other hosts. And man, little do you know, I found that model and it ended up being wildly successful because 2 or 3 years of doing that, I ended up getting 4 or 5 more properties after that and was able to build a business model around 420 friendly hospitality. And that became, I became the only person in South Florida doing 420 friendly hospitality around that time. And me being a millennial, I understood how to use social media and Instagram and YouTube and building a brand and applying those leadership qualities. The same thing that I learned from the video game, I was able to apply in real life at that time. So it became a thing that was easy for me. And then after that, I was able to find some partners to where in 2019 I was able to get a $60,000 um, angel investment from one of these friends that I knew, and he understood from my past when I did those 3 years in Hollywood, Florida, that I had something, and he invested in me. We bought the domain 420BNB. We bought the domain VibesBNB, and we bought the domain ShroomBNB.com. Psychedelics, cannabis, and 420 friendly hospitality. And I took that and niched it around personal development of myself. So now today, 2024, everybody calls me for renting cannabis friendly um, hotels and apartments and Airbnbs and different short term rentals within the city of Miami. And like I said before, um, to the 2016 all the way to 2019, ended up getting 3 or 4 more apartments. 2019 ended up getting a 4 bedroom down here in Miami. And then 2020 COVID kind of knocked everybody out. But then over 1 million businesses in November had been started because everybody was forced to go back to the table. And I remember when the stock market crashed April 25th, 2020, and I said, okay, this is my chance. This is my 2008. This is my chance. With 2008, I was in high school. I had just graduated. So my 2008, my financial opportunity was in 2020, and I was a COVID baby. So I told myself, give me 5 years. I'm gonna be something. I'm gonna be in a way different place because I understood what COVID meant to the industry and how I could capitalize on that opportunity. Because like I said, everything that I learned from playing video games, I had just applied right then and then. When they had released a report that said that over 1 million businesses had gotten started in 2021, I understood exactly what I needed to do. I got a loan from the government, $30,000 in 2021 May, because I had started my business credit. I had started applying for different grants. I had started helping other people get their business in order, being a mentor to different peer groups and joining forums on Facebook and, joining different groups and things like that, to where I just understood what the name of the game was 5 years down the road. And like I said, now 2024, I'm here sitting on the 47th floor in this big condo, and I'm just happy that I had took a chance on myself, because I think that's something that people don't do, is they don't trust in themselves to find a mentor and be able to push yourself and make yourself uncomfortable so that you can achieve bigger and better things. And I've never needed anybody to push me. I've just always had that champion mentality in myself. And, I attribute a lot of that to my father, that, that one little statement that he said in 2021 kind of sparked the beast. So even though it was kind of a bad thing back in 2021, 28, back in 2010, 2011, that was probably one of the best things that he had did for me, because I came to Florida and took a fork in the road and achieved a whole nother section of my life that I didn't even think it was possible, because I didn't really want to stay in Detroit, Michigan, because I didn't think there was anything there for me. So, it's funny how your parents can be such an impactful force in your life by just something, the smallest things that they can say can have such a big effect on you. And I was just able to take that and kind of be like, okay, he didn't think that I could make it at the highest level. So here I am forging my own path.
Love it. What a great answer, and definitely feel connected, and also have similar stories. I actually believe that your dad had like tough love with you, and all parents want what's best for their kids, and coddling is sometimes not the right thing. And what he did to you is similar to what my dad used to do to me, or does to me still. He'll poke the bear by saying things that he wants more, or he sees more in me and pushes me. So I definitely feel connected, and I love the story of how you that was like igniting a fire, and then you took it all the way, and then now you've had enormous success. And then you gave a lot of nuggets of information about how you started your business and how it grew. And now that you're an accomplished entrepreneur, what do you think are some mistakes new entrepreneurs are doing? Like you saw the opportunity back in COVID. It was like obviously, and I like that too. Like most people thought, oh, it's a meltdown. For you, it was the your window of opportunity. Or '08 was the great financial crisis, but to you, it's like the great financial opportunity. So I love that flipping the coin mentality. But tell us, what do you think is mistakes people are making?
So, I always look at back in my life and I'm like, there's always things I wish I had been more privy to, 10 years ago. And one of the first things was, for one, pursuing a better education in business. You know, I didn't go, I didn't take a master's business class. And 10 years now down the road, I wish I would have, because I feel like continued education is a lifelong thing. There's no point in your life where you know everything. And now that AI is here, there's no excuse about why we all shouldn't be continuously learning. You can ask ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, some of these different platforms where if you don't know something, you should be learning it from that. Reading books. One of the books that I picked up was obviously Rich Dad Poor Dad, one of the first books, and then Seven Habits of Highly Successful People, and Never Split the Difference. These were three books that back 10 years ago, I had them, but I never took an interest in really reading them until just recently. And then now I'm blown away about the teachings and things that I learned through those books, because they helped me elevate myself and understand and give me clarity about what I need to be doing 2024 to 2030. Now I'm 35. As I go through the second half of my life, from 35 to 55, I have a clear understanding of who I am, what I need to be doing. One of the teachings of Seven Habits of Highly Successful People is put first things first, and sharpen the saw. Take time to, you know, pour into yourself. Go to the gym, work out your body. Your mental clarity is so important. Um, these are things that I didn't take too seriously 5, 10 years ago, but then now in the second half of my life, that's all I want to do now. I just want to read. I want to learn. I want to understand, you know, how Brian Chesky thinks at Airbnb, how some of these major tech giants think, and how can I build Vibes B&B to be a major travel hospitality platform in the cannabis space. That's I want to get to the NFL in the business world now. I'm not drafted yet, but I'm in the gym. I need coaches. I need mentors. I need people who understand the path to success. Now it's now I understand who I need to have around me. I don't have too many friends now because I'm really careful with who I put myself around. I only want to be around winners. I only want to be around people who are doing things. I only want to uh, invest in the proper education and people. And 10 years ago, when I was 25, I didn't have a good grasp of these things. I kind of struggled with self identity for a little bit. I understood that you know, it's okay to make mistakes in your 20s because you have to fail forward. It's okay to try things. It's okay to, get into new things and fail at it because there's a thousand ways to do, there's a thousand ways not to do something, but you only got to hit once. And once you find something that you're passionate about and you're able to nonstop thinking about it, you understand what your calling is. So one of the things that I think entrepreneurs are making a mistake with now, today in 2025, is really not utilizing their business credit, making sure that their credit is good. One of the, I'm $60,000 in debt with student loans, and the only reason why I don't have 100 apartments right now is because I didn't understand at 21 years old that taking student loan debt would actually be detrimental to me 10 years down the road. And that was uh, one of my just, you know, one of the things that I didn't understand then, but I have a great understanding now to where, you know, don't take on loans, fund things yourself, save your money, put away money, put away money into your savings account, invest in things that have passive income opportunities, vending machines, real estate, selling shirts, Printify. There's so many different things that you can get into now that doesn't require you to have a whole lot of debt in the beginning, but you can start to build up your profile of being, you know, an entrepreneur at a certain level. Um, One of the other things that I think people make a mistake at is not having the right mentors. I think there's a lot of people 20 through 28 that don't understand the power of people who've done it already. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. Everything that you want to do, somebody has done already. Find the people who are doing it. Ask them about, how did you start? What were some of the things that you learned? The reason you get mentors is because they can help you avoid costly mistakes. They can tell you, hey, no, don't go to school and spend $60,000 on loans, because there's an easier way to do it here. Go get the business credit. Start your LLC for $125. Go get your DUNS number. Go, you know, get a credit card, a secured credit card, $300 a month from the bank. Pay for gum every month. Pay it off, and then in 3 months you have a 90 DUNS score, and then you can apply for a $10,000 or $20,000 credit business credit card. And then now you can start that vending machine business and buy 3 vending machines for $5,000 each. And then now set it up in different locations that you have in the city of people who don't have vending machines, and then run a business stocking and maintaining vending machines. There's so many things that you can get into that will help you excel. And when you get to be 28, 29, 30, 35, you're mentally at your best. So all of that training and practice, 22, 25, 28, will just help you now make better, bigger, faster, smarter decisions after you're 30 plus. And I thought I was the smartest. I thought I was smart at 25, and now only when I'm 35, I realized I didn't know nothing. And I still don't know it as much because
Yeah.
education is still a continuous thing. So,
Yeah.
my message to entrepreneurs, below the age of 28 is to put yourself around the people. Go apply for that internship. Go send that message. Go cold email. Go walk into buildings and ask for opportunities of fields that interest you, because your 35-year-old self will thank you for it.
I really, really like your answer, because the fact that people are not really taking into account their actions, kind of going in autopilot. Oh, it's normal to get a student loan. It's normal to go to college. It's normal to do this, but then you will just, I don't want to say just be normal, but you'll be average. And average doesn't cut it anymore. Average, it's really, you need to excel. And if you see your life excelling, you need to take the road less traveled. And combining that with mentorship is definitely shortens the road.
Correct.
I help. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying is being extraordinary, not ordinary, but being extraordinary, and that requires you to think outside the box.
Yeah, yeah,
School kind of teaches you to be a worker, and you can always work. There's nothing wrong with having a job, but you gotta sometimes think about leveling up at some point in your life. And when you decide to level up, that will be the greatest thing, and that will be the greatest thing in the world, because your older self will thank you for it, because you took the chance at being uncomfortable, and you're not you're not growing if you're not uncomfortable.
Exactly. And I even think that even if you go the corporate route and you want to do, you're like the best in school and you're best in your job, you're still going to level up in that field, and the only way to do that is by consistently pushing yourself to outside your comfort zone, like you just mentioned, talking to people who are ahead of you, and getting those that information that helps you become a better person every day. And then I like how you're projecting yourself. You now understand at 35 years old that you are planning for the next 15, for maybe the next 30 years. How are things happening today, and not fall into a trap that it's almost like, have you seen those memes of like horses being pulled by cats or by a little dog? You're like, yeah, but
Yeah,
a little $60,000 loan, which little, I mean, because you could have had 100 apartments. You know, it's like something so small is holding you back from achieving this, achieving what you want, and it's because you put these, like, mental or even physical or legal locks onto your neck that then don't let you free, and then don't let you achieve your potential, which is what freedom is.
correct. I understood just, and like I said, this goes back to my father and playing video games of just what the recipe was for success, and I made sure that, at 27, I had my opportunity. I saw something and immediately locked in, and I understood what I had to do. And that's, I think, one of the best decisions I had made. Because, like I said, 2021 through 26, I kind of struggled with what I wanted to do, self identity, but I always knew I was a great networker. I could talk to people, and I was understanding that you put yourself in the path of success.
Yeah.
That is how you make it on the biggest level. Go put yourself in those networking groups. Go put yourself in those those air. Go to that mixer. Get out of your house. Don't play Call of Duty too much. I had to severely limit my video game time, which is one of my passions at 35 still. But I understand that I can only spend an hour or two now because there's other more important things to do. When I'm 60 years old and I got $1 billion, I'll be able to spend all day on video games again. And I'll be able to, probably start a streaming company myself, or get back into selling gaming chairs to kids like I used to do 5, 6 years ago. We had a company called TechniSportUSA.com where we sold gaming chairs to kids during 2019, right before COVID. And that was one of my other successful businesses where me and my founder, my co-founder, Alexander Robinson, we were able to take that company from selling one or two chairs a month to selling over 10,000 chairs a month. Ran the company up from making only $2,000 or $3,000 a month to over $1 million, $1.5 million over a 2-year period. And that was something that I was passionate about before I started Airbnb. But then, we didn't own the company, and we were both making $40,000, $50,000 a year. And the CEO of that company fired us both because it was only a project to him. And I just remember feeling like this is why you got to be your own leader. You got to control your own domain. You have to be your own boss, because you can spend your life building something and putting all of your passion and energy into something, and then just to get it taken away by some guy that didn't have a passion for what you were doing. And that was one of the other things that really irked me back in 2018, 2019, is that I was a streamer before I did Airbnb and Uber, and I just remember being in that situation where I was flying to different states, California, Texas, Chicago, going to these different C2E2, TwitchCon, and different things like that. Really putting my passion into that, and selling these gaming chairs to kids. And me and Alex had we had took market share from uh, this one of the best chair companies out there, DX Racer. We had taken almost 30% market share from them, and because we were gamers and understood how to drive impactful, just drive impact, but we had both gotten removed from that because we had asked for 20,000 more dollars a year. We wanted to go from 40 to 60K a year each after driving $1.5 million to this guy's business. A we joined a furniture company, started a gaming chair company within that furniture company, and drove it to $1.5 million sales, and then he let us go after that year and a half. And it just me and my co-founder, we just understood, okay, no more working for people, no more putting that energy and that drive into other people. Let's put it into ourselves, and then we will be able to manifest those rewards later.
Yeah, yeah. I help entrepreneurs invest, especially because I find that entrepreneurs, it doesn't necessarily mean that if you're a good entrepreneur, you're a good investor. And when I was able to sell my business, I became an investor, and I noticed, or I happily realized that I'm a better investor than I am an entrepreneur. And I help access the institutional grade real estate, whether it's equity or credit. And what I notice is a lot of misunderstanding in the field. So how do you, what's your investment philosophy? And since you're in the short-term rental space, how do you see it as an investment?
So first of all, passive income is the name of the game. 50 Cent said it a lot. You have to make money while you sleep. And I
Yeah.
believe, I believe getting into real estate is first of all, when you're in your 20s, is one of the best investments that you can make, because understanding that people, it depends on the market, right? Because there's other, and this is where market research comes into play. You have to do your research. Location, um, the type of property, 1, 2, 3, 4 bedrooms. You have to understand that when you get into real estate, you're starting a hospitality company unless you give it to a property manager. So understanding what property management entails is something that I believe everyone should get into, especially early in your life, 22, 23, 24 years old. Find a way to get that one bedroom property. Start there. One bedrooms on Airbnb, Booking.com, VRBO, Expedia, Vibes B&B is one of the fastest, one of the easiest investments, and one of the fastest investments to be successful at, because you only have to find solo travelers and couples, and there's always people traveling to every city in America. So if you're in a city where there's a lot of urban activity, like Chicago, Vegas, California, New York, Atlanta, Miami, um, different parts of San Francisco, and Colorado, is you can open a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom apartment, or buy a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom house and put it on Airbnb, and then start to make $2,000 or $3,000 a month. And then you put it on Peerspace and start to do photo shoots and movie studios. The more investment that you put into things, the more you get out of it. There's some people who bought, a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom property, and they make $7,000 a month on a $2,000 mortgage, all because they put investment in interior design and love into their property, to where, they're able to make an easy $5,000 a month. That's better than working at McDonald's, or working at Best Buy, or working at AT&T, or working at Verizon, or any of these other companies that pay you $13 an hour and you make $1,800 a month. $5,000 a month getting your first property, and then you can take those profits and buy another house. If you have good money saving practices, you can buy another house and be able to to invest in another property. There's plenty of people that I know that have 3 or 4 1 bedrooms, and they make $15,000-$20,000 a month, and their expenses are only nine to 11,000. So they're making an extra 9K a month, and then they're able to take that 9,000 and invest into themselves, build their personal brand, build their shirt business, start investing into other businesses. Money is not supposed to be sitting in the bank. It's supposed to be out there working for you. So, I think real estate is one of the best things that you can get into, and getting into ancillary businesses like rental cars, vending machines, shirt delivery. You know, one of the businesses that I like is uh, the what's it called? The VR stuff, the VR glasses. Buy 10 of those and open up a VR company. I think that there's a lot of different opportunities. And then if you have good business credit and you're able to get that American Express card for $20,000, you can take that American Express card and buy the things that you necessarily don't want to use your cash for, right? OPM, other people's money. You want to figure out how to leverage other people's money so that you can bring cash flow into your business. Because the name of the game is cash flow. One of the things that Grant Cardone said is, and I took I learned this 5 years ago, is he said, you don't have a money problem, you have a cash flow problem. You just have to figure out how to increase your cash flow because being broke is a mindset. It's not, it's, no, so success is a mindset. Being broke is just how you think about the things that you're doing. There's a lot of rich people who are broke because their money is always out doing things, but they're making $20,000-$30,000 of recurring revenue every month. But they also put it back out there in the market because it needs to be working. It needs to be doing stuff. So I think that Airbnb, Vibes B&B, short-term rentals, Booking.com has been around forever, right? Expedia has been around forever. I think those are some of the safest investments to get into. Mutual bonds, um, you know, uh, things, buying treasury bonds from the government, you know, uh, investing in stocks, even though it's a little, volatile right now. I think getting into, having a portion of your money in stocks, everybody who bought Nvidia 5 years ago are winning right now because AI has kind of transformed that company now. Everybody who bought Tesla is winning right now because what Elon Musk doing in battery technology and self-driving cars and these robots that got released 3 or 4 months ago is something that I knew was coming. I told my investor my angel investor who gave me the 60,000, I said, bro, put all of your money on Tesla. And I promise you we'll be good. He didn't listen to me. And that's why he's not on the team anymore. But that I already knew when you have a once in a lifetime type of mind like Elon Musk, that's one of the I like to invest in people who I see paving the way forward, who I see are pioneers. So I think that that's one of the the easiest things to get into. Start an AI company, start a robotics company. Don't worry about how to do it, just start. The first thing is write it down. Don't think in your mind. Write down, I want to start this robotics company. That's 50% of the work right there is just writing it down. And
Yeah,
then work backwards. How do you work backwards from that? Oh, okay, well, I need an LLC. I need funding. How do I get the funding? There's so many different lanes that you could do, which is why having a mentor is so important because they can eliminate all of the stress
for
within that
sure.
process and help you really elevate to the next level.
For sure. And and great answer because you gave so many, you can tell how much you've thought of it. And there's so many avenues to, as an investment philosophy. With Airbnb specifically, what type of risks are people, what should they expect? What kind of like war stories do you have that might say, it can be very good, but there's also certain things that you need to look out for. What would you recommend someone that's starting out?
So for people who are starting out, everything is risky. Jim Rohn, one of my favorite motivational speakers, says everything is risky. Wait till you find out the cost for not trying. It's way bigger than jumping into an investment and doing the research. Don't worry about the money, bro. Get into it. Start working. Start grinding. Start finding people in that space and minimize the risk by putting yourself in the path of success. Who are the other people who have done it already? You can eliminate all your risk if you find the people who've already taken the risk and lost already. Because then they'll be able to tell you, hey, no, don't do that because I did this and lost back then. It's just about who you put yourself around. Every business is risky. You can always lose money. You can always find bad business partners. You can always make a mistake. You know, you know, um, when you do get into short-term rentals and Airbnb, one of the biggest things is make sure that the location is correct. I think that's one of the biggest key factors is making sure that you're in an area where there's demand. You have to do your market research. You have to include people in your business plan that have done the market research and can tell you, hey, no, don't open it up in Western Florida. Go to downtown Miami where all of the millennials who spend 80% of the money on travel are going every single year. That's why Miami is one of the number one city in the world right now, because there's people my age that are coming here every single day, 3-4 times a year, spending $200-300 a night on these luxury condos, Airbnbs, entire houses. So when your house does $7,000 a month on a $2,000 mortgage, it's because you understand how travel trends are, what the travel trends are, where people are spending the money, where people are, what people are doing, right? Having a rental car company down here, having a concierge or party promoter service. People are going to parties every single day, right? Opening up a club. They're trying to get gambling legal here in Miami because they understand that everybody's down here and they want to be able to gamble and do other things. So it's understanding where the money's going. And I think if you have a good group of people, and you have a research and development uh, side to your company, those are the people that are understanding where the money's flowing, and then that's how you can eliminate the risk. But there's always going to be a risk, but the cost of not trying is way surpasses the amount that you can lose in a 3 or 4 amount in a short amount of time on a yearly basis.
Yeah, I love that quote and definitely agree with it. Um, it was wonderful having you here. It's really you're like I said at the beginning, force of nature. Very happy to have met you and understand where you're going, and how you're a big thinker, and more importantly, an executor. You're thinking one thing, but doing it is the harder part. And I like to finish the podcast by asking you what inspires you in the work that you're doing today.
I think what inspires me is, I think, building. To be honest, my dad inspires me because I come from I'm cut from a special cloth, and I don't take that lightly. Every day I go downstairs and I walk past people who have mental health challenges or have parents in their life that weren't there or did drugs or didn't really take their life seriously. I thank God every day that I have the mental clarity and mental fortitude to be able to think the way that I do and never take no for an answer. What really drives me is I just want to get to a point in my life where I'm able to play video games again for long hours of the day. That's what inspires me.
Sounds
I
good.
wanna I wanna be able to execute and get to a point where my mom had 3 kids by 3 different men, and my mom and dad never got married. I never had stability from a two-parent household, and being able to create stability in my life and have a partner that I can be with for 30 years, have all of the same kids by, kind of pass my special cloth genetics onto my kids. That's what inspires me now. I can spend the first half of my life uh, running, right? Bishop T.D. Jakes says, run while you're young. Run while you're young. Because once you get older, you're going to do everything half as good. So why not spend 20 through 40 testing myself and putting myself at the highest level and really putting myself in the fire and, just understanding what Brian Chesky and Elon Musk and Kanye West and Jay-Z and all of these people that I look up to, what is their mindset every day? How did they get to where they got to? And every day I wake up, I get up at 5:30 a.m. every day. I take 30 minutes to meditate. I thank God for where I am. And then at 6 6:30 in the 6:30 a.m. It's a 18 hour it's a 15 hour execution strategy for me, and I've been doing that every single day of my life for the last 10 years, and that I want to say is why I feel like I am where I am, and my dad, that tough love, wanting to have a stability and build a relationship that's successful. That's the only thing I didn't get when I was young. I could have made it to the NFL. I could have made it to any sport at the highest level if I had the proper coaching. But my dad had to work all the time, so I didn't get fulfilled in the way that I thought I should have, so that you know I could make it in professional sports at a certain level. But like I said before, that little spark that he gave me, it was able to put me in the big leagues on a business level, and you know that just being in this space now, being impactful and being influential in Miami, and having people know who I am for 420 friendly hospitality, that inspires me to want to take this the next 20 years and find other investors who believe in recreational marijuana being legal at some point in all 50 states, recreationally and medically. Once that happens, they're going to look for once that happens, people are going to look for who's been building in this space the longest. And they're going to see my name in the top 3 of that list, because I'm going to continue to push myself, and I'm going to make sure that before anybody invests in anything, they're going to have to come to me, because I'm the person that's been building authority in this space.
Great answer. Thank you, Deon, again, for being with us.
I appreciate you.